The engine roared to life, then screamed like metal tearing apart. Warning lights exploded across the control room. Engineers shouted over each other as the massive aircraft engine began vibrating violently on the test stand. "Shut it down! Shut it down now!" one engineer yelled. The countdown clock froze. The machine sputtered, coughed, and died. Silence swallowed the room. Glass windows trembled from the failed test, and everyone slowly turned toward the man standing at the back, the CEO. His jaw tightened. Another test. Another disaster. Another $1 billion slipping into smoke. He walked forward slowly. "How much did that one cost?" No one answered. Finally, the lead engineer swallowed. "Including redesign, testing, materials, about $500 million. The CEO nodded once. "And we still don't know why it's failing?" The engineer lowered his eyes. "No, sir." He exhaled deeply. "Reset everything. We try again tomorrow." The room filled with uneasy glances. Tomorrow meant another risk. Another chance at losing everything. Because this wasn't just any engine. It was the engine meant to change aviation forever, lighter, faster, more fuel efficient. Investors had poured billions into it. Airlines were waiting. The media was watching. And it kept failing. Hours later, the CEO sat alone in his office, staring at graphs on his screen. Vibration spikes. Temperature anomalies. Sensor noise. He had memorized every line of data, yet nothing made sense. His phone buzzed. It was the board chairman. "We need to talk," the voice said. "I'm aware," the CEO replied quietly. "You've spent over $3 billion. Investors are nervous. If the next test fails, we may have to consider leadership changes." The call ended. He leaned back in his chair, exhausted. This company was his life. He built it from a small engineering startup into a global aerospace powerhouse. And now, one engine might destroy everything. The next morning, engineers crowded the conference room. Charts covered every wall. "We replaced the turbine," one said. "We reinforced the casing," another added. "We rewrote the control software. And yet it still fails," the CEO said calmly. No one had an answer. Days passed. Another test. Another failure. News headlines began appearing. "Billion-dollar engine disaster. CEO gamble backfires." Employees whispered in hallways. Some updated their resumes. Investors demanded progress. One night, the CEO walked through the empty testing hangar. The giant engine sat in silence like a defeated beast. He touched the metal casing. "What are we missing?" he murmured. Behind him, the lead engineer approached. "We've brought in consultants from Europe. They'll arrive tomorrow." "Bring whoever you want," the CEO replied. "Just fix it." The consultants came. They studied the design for days. They ran simulations. They argued over calculations. Then they watched another test. The engine failed again. One consultant shook his head. "This shouldn't be happening. Everything checks out." "So you don't know either?" the CEO asked. The man hesitated. "No." Weeks passed. Millions burned daily. The board scheduled an emergency meeting. "We cannot continue like this," the chairman said. "If the next test fails, we'll vote on your position." The CEO looked around the room. Faces he had trusted for years now avoided eye contact. "I understand," he said quietly. That afternoon, the final test before the board vote was scheduled. Engineers moved with nervous urgency. "Fuel ready. Cooling systems active. Telemetry online." The CEO stood behind the glass, hands folded. "Begin ignition." The engine spun. Flames ignited. The vibration climbed. "Stable, stable," an engineer whispered. Then suddenly, spike. "Vibration increasing. Temperature rising." The machine shook violently. "Shut it down." Too late. Another failure. One engineer slammed his headset on the table. "I don't get it. We've changed everything." The CEO didn't move. He just stared at the silent engine. It was over. That evening, rain poured heavily outside the company headquarters. Employees rushed to their cars, eager to escape the tension inside. Near the entrance, a young homeless woman stepped under the shelter. Her clothes were worn, her hair damp from rain. She hugged herself for warmth. Security noticed immediately. "Hey, you can't stay here," one guard said. "I just need to get out of the rain," she replied softly. "You'll have to move along." Before she left, her eyes caught something inside the lobby, a massive screen displaying live engine diagnostics from the earlier test. Graphs flickered across it. She stepped closer, studying the patterns. The guard sighed. "Didn't you hear me?" "Just 1 second," she said quietly. She tilted her head, watching the repeating spike. Upstairs, the CEO exited the elevator, exhausted after a long meeting. He walked past the lobby, barely noticing the woman. Then she spoke. "Why does it jump like that before it stops?" One engineer standing nearby frowned. "What?" She pointed at the graph. "The vibration, it spikes the same way every time." The engineer chuckled. "Yeah, that's the problem. We know." "No," she said gently. "It's not random." Another engineer joined, amused. "You think we didn't check that?" She traced the screen with her finger. "It's always after the small oscillation here, like feedback." The first engineer laughed. "This is aerospace engineering. It's not that simple." The CEO, halfway across the lobby, stopped. He slowly turned back. "What did you say?" he asked. The woman looked nervous. I think the sensor is reading its own vibration." The engineers exchanged looks. "That's impossible," one said. The CEO walked closer. "Explain." She hesitated. "If the sensor is too close, it could amplify the signal. Like a microphone near a speaker." The lobby grew quiet. "That would cause a loop," she continued softly. "It builds until shutdown." The lead engineer shook his head. "We tested sensor placement." "Did you test that exact distance?" she asked. No one answered immediately. The CEO stared at the screen. The pattern, it was consistent. "Run the data again," he ordered. The engineers hesitated. Now. They pulled up historical logs. The spike appeared, every time, identical. The woman stepped back, unsure if she'd overstepped. The lead engineer muttered. "It's still unlikely." The CEO looked at him. "Unlikely isn't impossible." He turned to the team. "Check the sensor mount. Compare vibration frequencies." Minutes passed. The tension grew. An engineer's voice broke the silence. "Sir, the resonance frequency, it matches." Another added. "If we move the sensor slightly, it might break the loop." The lead engineer blinked. That's actually possible." The CEO looked at the woman. "What's your name?" She hesitated. "Lena." "Well, Lena," he said quietly, "we're going to test your idea." The engineers exchanged uncertain glances. One whispered, "We're taking advice from a homeless woman?" The CEO replied firmly, "Right now, she's the only one who sees something new." They moved quickly. A small adjustment. Just a few millimeters. The team gathered in the test room once more. "Ready for ignition," someone announced. The CEO stood still, eyes fixed on the engine feed. If this failed, he would lose everything in the morning. The countdown began. 5, 4, 3. The engine ignited. The vibration rose. The spike approached. Everyone held their breath. And then. It didn't come. The vibration climbed, then stabilized. One engineer leaned forward. Hold on. The engine continued running. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. 20 seconds. That's past the failure point, someone whispered. The control room remained frozen. No one dared celebrate yet. Temperature? The CEO asked quietly. Normal. Pressure? Stable. The engine roared louder, smoother than before. The usual shaking never appeared. The lead engineer's voice cracked. It's working. A ripple of disbelief spread across the room. Keep it running, the CEO said. 30 seconds turned into a minute. Then 2. The engine maintained perfect stability. Suddenly, cheers erupted. Engineers clapped, some laughing in shock. One person removed his headset and covered his face. We did it! Someone shouted. The CEO didn't celebrate immediately. He just stared at the screen, almost afraid it would fail again. But it didn't. Finally, he turned slowly toward the woman standing quietly at the back of the room. She looked unsure, almost ready to leave. You were right, he said. The lead engineer approached her, still stunned. We've been chasing this for months, and it was a sensor loop. She gave a small nod. Sometimes small things cause big problems. Another engineer shook his head. That adjustment cost, what? A few $1,000s? Less, someone replied. Billions saved, by a tiny shift. The CEO walked closer. You didn't just help us, you saved this company. She looked down. I just noticed a pattern. Well, most people here missed it, he said. Security, unsure what to do, stood silently near the door. The atmosphere had completely changed. Run a full performance test, the CEO ordered. The engine continued operating flawlessly. Efficiency numbers climbed higher than projected. Fuel consumption dropped. The design worked, better than expected. The lead engineer laughed softly. This is unbelievable. The CEO turned back to Lena. How did you see it so quickly? She hesitated. I've seen similar issues before. You work in engineering? He asked. She didn't answer immediately. The room quieted again. I used to, she said softly. The CEO frowned. Used to? She took a breath. Years ago. I worked on vibration analysis. Aerospace systems. Several engineers exchanged surprised looks. You're an aerospace engineer? One asked. She nodded faintly. I was. What happened? The CEO asked gently. She looked at the floor. I raised concerns about a safety issue at my previous company. They ignored it. I reported it. After that, I lost my job. Couldn't find another. Things fell apart. Silence filled the room. The lead engineer whispered. You're serious? She nodded again. Eventually I lost my apartment. I've just been moving around since. The CEO's expression hardened, not at her, but at the thought. You saved us, he said firmly. And you shouldn't be standing here like this. She gave a small, uncertain smile. I didn't expect anything. He looked around at his team. Everyone here just witnessed what happened. The person who solved our biggest problem wasn't in this building. She walked in from the rain. No one disagreed. The CEO turned back to her. Lena, I'd like you to stay. She blinked. Stay? As part of this team. Officially. The engineers nodded. Some even clapped lightly. You're offering me a job? She asked quietly. I'm offering you the position of vibration analysis consultant, he replied. Starting now. Her eyes widened slightly. I don't even have. We'll handle everything, he interrupted. You earned it. The lead engineer stepped forward. We could really use someone who sees what we don't. She looked around the room, overwhelmed. I don't know what to say. Say yes, the CEO replied. After a moment, she nodded. Yes. Applause filled the room again. Hours later, the board gathered for their emergency meeting. The CEO entered calmly. The chairman looked up. Well? He placed the report on the table. The engine passed full testing. The room stirred. What changed? One member asked. A small sensor adjustment, he replied. That's it. That's it. And you found this now? He paused. Actually, someone else did. The chairman raised an eyebrow. Who? The CEO smiled slightly. Our newest consultant. The tension in the room dissolved. The vote never happened. Days later, news broke that the company's revolutionary engine had succeeded. Headlines changed tone overnight. Breakthrough after months of failures. New aircraft engine sets efficiency record. But inside the company, everyone knew the real story. Lena now walked through the same lobby where she had once stood soaked from rain. Employees greeted her respectfully. She had clean clothes, a badge, and a desk overlooking the testing floor. One afternoon, the CEO stopped by her workstation. How's everything? He asked. She smiled. Still feels unreal. You earned it, he said. She glanced at the engine visible through the glass. Funny, one small detail changed everything. He nodded. And one person. She looked thoughtful. Thank you for listening, he replied quietly. Thank you for speaking. The engine project launched successfully months later. Orders poured in from airlines around the world. The company stabilized, stronger than before. And the story of the woman who walked in from the rain quietly spread among employees, a reminder that brilliance doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes the greatest solutions come from the most unexpected people. If this story inspired you, take a moment to like the video and subscribe for more powerful stories like this. And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? It's always amazing to see how far these stories travel. Because somewhere out there, another overlooked voice might be carrying the next big breakthrough, just waiting for someone to listen.